Welcome to the Soul Wisdom Project, the living blueprint of the soul. With me, Shakti, your host. Do you ever feel overwhelmed by your daily life as if something inside you is trying to get your attention? As an international teacher, shaman, and energy healer, I bring the tools of a lifetime to guide you to explore how to live consciously, awaken your innate wisdom, integrating the design, development, and emergence of your divine blueprint. Each episode blends grounded conversation with multidimensional insight, guiding you to release old patterns, align with your higher intelligence, and live awake, aware, and fully present. The Soul Wisdom Project with me, Shakti Botazzi, starts now. Welcome, everybody. I am thrilled to be here and a little bit emotional, as you can see on this first episode of the Soul Wisdom Project. It's a soul project for me. And today's topic is remembering the living blueprint of the soul, which just happens to be the tagline to this whole show. And I thought it was important to lay the foundation for you to understand why this is important for you to know. How will this transform your life by connecting with this transmission, with this information, with this ancient wisdom, and with this knowledge? And when I say knowledge, I mean capital K knowledge, as in knowing something that your soul resonates with and knows to be truth with capital T. So, as I said, I'm thrilled to be starting this journey today. And just a few words about me, since this is the first episode. I started on this path 40 plus years ago. I was in my late teens and I had some tragic episodes in my family that led me into a deep inner inquiry, which led me very magically throughout my whole life, a little bit like Hansel and Gretel's breadcrumbs, through a path that led me to meet my teachers and the different traditions with which I studied throughout these 40 plus years. And these traditions led me from South America to Central America to North America to Asia to Italy. I've had teachers in Buddhism, teachers in energy healing all over the globe. I've studied with Mayan traditions and curanderas in Central America, Navajos in the US. And it's a very broad transmission that I was given throughout these all these years. And also, I took some studies as well. I studied formally. I'm an international coach. I have basics in biodeprogramming, in hypnosis, meditation. So I have a lot of transmissions that are formal beyond transmissions that are energetic of the wise ones. And in this moment, it's been 10 years that I've been doing just this, being a guide, a coach, a healer, a spiritual teacher for my clients and for my tribe. And this started 10 years ago when I was guided to stop everything else I was doing, which had to do with corporate world and very 3D transactions, as in buying and selling houses as well, and to drop all of that and really dedicate my life to bring all that wisdom that I had acquired in service for those that are ready, that are needing a hand, that are seeking to find themselves and understand why they're here at this time on earth. And through these 10 years, that didn't stop my own journey of discovery. I keep growing, I keep healing, and I keep going just like we all do. We cannot stay still. There's a yearning within us, certainly within myself, that is pulling me forth and inviting me always just a little bit more, to stretch a little bit more, to trust a little bit more, to surrender more. And in that journey, it is that the soul blueprint comes into action and why it is important. And if you don't know what the blueprint is, That's just one of the terms are used to describe this. Some people call it the divine blueprint. Some people call it your divine template. Some people call it your architecture, your divine architecture, God codes. These are all names to speak about the same thing. And what this is something that connected you to your soul's path before you were even born. And we'll get to that in a minute. But what is also important is that without connecting to this blueprint, you most likely will live by default or have lived by default through survival, through inherited beliefs, through societal expectations, through conditionings of your parents, the country or the city or the clan you were born in. And all of these things make it more difficult for you to really access that truth within you, that authentic part of you, which is the one that holds your purpose. And it's the one, most importantly, that holds your fulfillment, your joy. Because when you are tapping into that authenticity within you, the one that taps into the divine blueprint, that's when things start aligning in your life, when suddenly the right people come into your way, the right opportunities, the right synchronicities. But there's a caveat, because if you are not tuned to the fact that you're seeking these things, they will come and go and you will miss them. So it's important also to be attuned to what this is that you're desiring. And sometimes the desire is not clear. There's just an idea, a yearning, a feeling, and that's good too. We'll see why as we move on. But I also want you to remember or know, if you didn't know before, that you are here on earth in this beautiful school that is life, and you are meant to have joy. You are meant to find fulfillment, and you are meant to remember. And this word remembrance came to me at the very beginning of this path 10 years ago when I was looking inside of myself, finding what is it within all the things I can do in this path as a guide, as a healer, as a spiritual teacher, as a cosmic shaman, like some people call me. What is it that lights up my soul? Because I could do this in so many ways. And my truth showed me through a few years of trial and error that my joy comes when I help people really release what's holding them back, which is caused by childhood trauma. That's part of how the path on earth is projected. You come as a beautiful, perfect soul and you incarnate as a baby. Innocence is what this baby is. And immediately, as the consciousness of spirit gets into the womb of the mother, this soul begins experiencing things. First from inside of the womb, then through the birth canal or C-section, whatever the experience of birthing is, and then through life immediately. And the first 7 years of life are very instrumental in creating that persona that is the one with which we show up to the world, that mask that is the one that we created based on what we thought that our parents wanted us to be, or what our parents or society or school companions told us that was the right thing to be. So thus begins the journey where it's difficult to fit into that mold that is not really reflecting our authenticity. Sometimes it can be something as simple as society wants you to be like a waif, tall, super skinny, and you're not. You're kind of like me, an Italian blooded, even though I was born in Argentina, my genes are Italian and Turkish, so I'm shorter, I'm a little bit rounder, and I didn't fit that mold. And that was cause for a lot of struggling until I learned to release those conditionings and love myself. And quote unquote, that's easy to understand. It's an outside, very clear information. But the same thing happens with inside information. We need to be a good girl, or we need to get straight A's, or we need to be an athlete, or whatever it is that comes to us through information from the outside that we interpret that way. So it's not even exactly what it is, it's our interpretation of all those conditionings. And that journey, that experience of going through the first years of life until 7 years old, it is your family that does that, because for the most part you don't go to school or you go to kindergarten. But then when you go to school and you begin in first grade and onwards, then it's also your teachers and it's your peers and it's the outside world that begins also sending that kind of information, and you're taking cues from everybody. And so those first 14 years of your life or 15 years of your life are where a lot of the information that is leading us in an subconscious way, in an unconscious way, um, began to be formed. And so we started living our lives to fulfill those conditioned beliefs. And in so doing, we took distance from our authentic yearnings, our authenticity, our true self, the one that maybe didn't want to be a sports person, maybe wanted to be a chess player or a poet or an artist. And that difference and that contrast begins to be the information that, in a way, it's a blessing because leads us into inner inquiry, leads us into, well, what is it that I really want, and who is it that I am? And that's why I was beginning with the word remembering, because really you're not learning who you are, you're actually remembering that true purity, that authentic, innocent soul that came as a baby, but that through all these conditionings and experiences got lost or forgotten or confused or hidden. Because sometimes it was also hard to be who we are, because when we tried to show our authentic self, we were bullied or we were derided or we weren't really received with open arms. And so the journey of remembering requires a release of conditioning, a release of beliefs. And the release of beliefs is not just, oh, I'm just going to let go of all the beliefs. It's about, well, what of this set of beliefs that I carry are mine, that I truly believe authentically, that they aligned with who I am and what I want and the world I want to see, versus beliefs that were given to me as rules or as hardcore beliefs that really don't align with who truthfully inside I am or want to be. Because then that's the other part of this, that it is okay to change. It is okay to have wanted things before that you no longer want, or to have believed in things before that you don't longer believe in. That's part and nature of the journey of growing, because we don't know what we don't know. And we begin to know what we don't know as we know a little bit, as ironic as that may sound. And the other thing that is also so true is that every person has a story. Every one of us has a story. And our stories, even though they don't seem to be a gift, they're truly our gift, because it is through our stories that we are propelled forward into this journey of growth. Buddha used to say that earthly desires were enlightenment. And he used to say that because what he meant by that is that the earthly desires were the ones that lit a fire within us to want to do better, to want to go forth. And through that fire within us is that we achieve enlightenment, hopefully in this lifetime. But why the blueprint then, you may say? Like, where do I bring the blueprint here? So what is important to understand is that the blueprint is not an abstract spiritual idea. It affects real decisions, it affects your boundaries, your relationships, your work, your well-being, all aspects of your life. And living from the blueprint means learning to choose from the body, from your intuition, from resonance, and from that remembrance. Okay, so let's talk about what is this blueprint. Otherwise, we won't be able to get to the end of this. So the soul chooses lessons, themes, experiences, contracts, gifts, challenges, and in order to understand how we decided that our blueprint was going to play out, because yes, we have an impact in what is our divine blueprint. And in order to understand why we forget our blueprint, we must go to the very, very beginning. So very briefly, I'm going to go extra into the realm of the intangible, assuming that you are with me in this premise that we are souls that come to earth to learn, to grow, to live, and to experience things that we cannot experience from the realm of the intangible. We cannot touch and hug a loved one when we are just spirit. Yes, as spirit, we can experience the ineffable love that is divine love, but we cannot experience human love, and we cannot experience the taste of chocolate or lemon or caramel, and we cannot sense the aroma of violets and the ugly aroma of stench, and we cannot taste and we cannot see the rainbow, and we cannot see a sunset or the leaves changing with the seasons. And so the senses that the body gives us access to are part of the beauty of experiencing life incarnate, in carne, which means in the body, incarnated. So as this soul that we are, when we are on the other side, we make ourselves available to come to Earth. Earth is a planet that's known as a school planet. We come here to learn, and we can also here in service. Some of us come here very clearly in service at a certain lifetime, or in a certain lifetime, or in a lifetime, or in this lifetime. Some of us come here to learn. What we're here for is to play, to learn, and to understand how this game is played. So whatever it is that we decide will determine a lot of what happens to us on Earth. So let's talk a little bit about this. So we're a soul. We said, yes, I'm ready to incarnate. I'm going to go to Earth. So you have a council, that's your own council. It's made of 12 beings of light. They may be angels, masters, loved ones from many lifetimes. They could be beings from off planet. All these beings of love and light operate directly and connected to Creator, the universe of love and light, of the all be all. And together with your team, because we also have a divine team that supports us on earth as we go every day, we devise our blueprint, a plan. And this blueprint, this template, this floor plan, just like an architect would do a floor plan, a template, a blueprint of a property, includes the main karmic lessons that you want to conclude from past lifetimes that were left unfinished, the new karmic lessons that you want to tackle, the lineage of earth, of your body, of your family that you want to come into and help heal. And that's a whole other topic, lineage. We will be talking about lineage in future episodes. And also, what are the people you're going to meet in your own journey, if you want to marry or not, if you want to be professional or not, if you want to have children or not, then who those souls will be, and all of the aspects. Now, you may tell me, well, Shakti, if that's the case, then there's no free will. Everything is predestined, and what's the joy in that? And here's the tricky part about this. No, there is free will. But you devise this blueprint that has many, many, many people that you can meet. So that let's say you say, I want to experience a soulmate experience in this lifetime. So you come and you meet the first soul with which you made this agreement that let's be our soulmates in this lifetime, because we have been together in many lifetimes. And you meet, and for whatever reasons and free will and all the things that happened in this other person's life through their life until they met you, they A, don't recognize you, or B, they do recognize you and kind of remember barely that they're meant to be with you, but they choose not to because through experiences they may have had before meeting you, they may be afraid of trusting another person with love. And that crossroads goes by, and you come together and poof, nope, that didn't happen. But in your soulful path, in your blueprint, it is very clearly stated that you want that experience, the soulmate experience in this lifetime. Therefore, second option comes, which is not a second option in terms of less than the first. It's just the other person that you agreed upon that you were going to meet, so that if the first one didn't remember or didn't choose to, then the second one would be right there. The second one doesn't want to remember, same kind of thing, off they go. The third one comes. But rest assured that you are going to meet one of those souls that you agreed with and to, and you are going to have that soul mate experience in this lifetime. And that is part of the blueprint. So there is a lot of free will, as you can see. You too can go and find somebody and say, no, I don't trust. And then you may not go that path, but it is in the blueprint. And remember, you will live more joyfully and more fulfilled if you are in alignment with that blueprint. So if you wanted to have a soulmate relationship, and because somebody hurt you, you choose to not risk it again and say no to another loving relationship, well, you are going to not be fulfilled in love because you chose to have a soulmate relationship, and you're choosing not to lean into the stretch, into the discomfort, and learn this lesson and experience that beautiful love. Now, it's free will. It's okay. You don't have to. You chose that. If you now choose not to, then off we go, and you're going to finish this lifetime without that experience, and probably next time you're going to try again. And it's okay. But because it's not aligned with that blueprint that you yourself chose for yourself, you are going to feel that something is missing. You're going to feel that there is something is missing, a yearning that is unfulfilled. So I want to address for a moment the amnesia and the conditioning, and how does that play with this divine blueprint. So as I was saying, you design this beautiful blueprint together with your divine team, with your Council of Light of 12, and you have this plan and you come to Earth. Now, in the process of coming to earth, of that soul going through the ether and landing into mama's womb, where it's meant to really learn how to be in the constraints of a body that's going to grow and be the vehicle for the soul, the temple for the soul, something happens. We forget. There's amnesia. And this is by design, because if we came, then there would be no school. So the veil of forgetfulness is actually part of the initiation. And then not only you forget, but conditioning starts immediately, like I was explaining earlier. Family, culture, survival, safety patterns, whatever happens even in your mom's womb begins happening immediately. So there's a time in your life. For most of us, this is that time. No matter your age, okay? So for some of you, you're 18, for some of you, you're 30s, for some of you, you're 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, doesn't matter. This is the time on earth when this is happening. You realize things are off. And this is super interesting for me because I'm in my 60s, and many times I asked, why did I have to wait to be in my 60s in this time? Why couldn't I be like so many of the people I work with that are in their 30s and be sooner in this path? And I got a very clear answers that said, well, in your blueprint, you decided that this was going to be the time, and that through your own life experiences, i.e., mine, I would gain empathy and compassion and experience to be able to do what I'm here to do now as a guide, as a coach, as a healer, and that I needed to come, quote unquote, earlier when the earth was still very dense and prepare the way, so to speak, and then be here now at this wiser age of my life. I know this is true for many of you. I know many of you are in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s and still holding the flame and carrying this flame in service to love and light. And it's all perfect. There is no rushing. There is no, you had to be here earlier, you have to be here later. We are here exactly where we need to be in exactly the moment we need to be. However, like I was saying, there is that moment that we realize that there is a misalignment and that there is a yearning and that there's some kind of storm brewing inside and we don't know what it is. And the first part is that we're just uncomfortable and we're no longer happy, and we wake up in the morning and it's dull and it's blah and it's blah. And by the way, I want to hear from you. One of the gifts of doing this show live is that you can message me in real time, and I will either address your questions in real time in the same show, or I will address them in the next episode of the next show. So do take the opportunity of the possibility of this interchange of writing to me, asking questions, writing to me, telling me if this is your experience, where you are on your journey. And that way I can address it and we can really build this community with an open heart and an understanding that we are all in this together. So feel free to send your messages and I will either respond to them today or in our next show. So back to what I was saying, that yearning. I do want to know, where are you on this journey? Are you feeling this yearning? Are you feeling a storm brewing inside of you? Are you already aligned with your blueprint and really going and still at times there's a lot of mist and you don't know which way is up and which way is down, because that happens too, right? It's not a straight line, this journey of discovery. It's actually like an upward spiral. And sometimes we go back into, I don't understand. And it's okay. So no matter how far we drift, how far we forget and not choose, our soul, in alignment with this blueprint, always whispers its way back if we listen. That's the key part on this journey. Do we listen? So I can tell you that 10 years ago, as I was sharing, when I was guided to drop the stable living situation I had, salary, income from projects, and leave all that behind and dedicate myself to this path, it came combined with a rare disease that had me in a wheelchair in less than 2 years. Here I was, late 40s, 48, 49, in 50, 51, and I was in perfect shape. I was riding my bicycle with a local club through the Tuscan hills. I was living in Italy, in Tuscany at the time. That's how I met my soulmate. And I was really going all out 4 days a week. Even before my work, I would go out at like 5:30 in the morning, pedal for 2 hours, probably 30, 40 miles, then shower and start my week, my business day. And then Saturdays and Sundays, I would pedal 70, 80, 90 miles. I was totally on it. And I began to have pain, not do it, etc., etc. Led to this very rare disease in less than 2 years. I was in a wheelchair, which led to me asking what was going on. And part of what was going on was that I was walking the wrong path. And not only did my whole body say, you're not walking one more step through the wrong path, but there was a lot of healing that I was meant to do in association with all that conditioning, all those beliefs, and all those things I shared before that had to do with my own reason why I got so much in lack of ease, dis-ease. And the journey into harmony was an incredibly illuminating journey of compassion and of profound release and healing and helping me find my path. But what I want to share is that throughout those first years, when I was still with a lot of lack of ease, and I was working with so many different teachers and shamans, and I mean, I went all out. I was doing shamanic healings, and I was working with a coach to create my business, and I was working with a coach to heal in terms of lifestyles, and there were. I mean, I was going all out. I had like I don't know how many guides, 5, 7, and I was doing it all the time. I was also connecting or wanting to connect with my higher self. I had recently received the blissed gift of fully opening my own channel through a mystical experience. And therefore, I was able to listen to guidance and to learn how to trust that guidance, because so many times that guidance comes confused or mixed up with the mind, and we're not quite sure if the guidance is guidance or if it's our mind disguised as guidance. And I would journal a lot, and I would journal seeking answers. And I would get up in the morning and just write pages and pages of questions. And what am I meant to do? And how am I meant to do it? And when am I meant to do it? And where am I meant to do it? Amongst other things, okay? Just small questions, okay? And then I didn't get the answers right there and then. The process and the journey was to leave it there and listen to the whispers of the soul, or the whispers of the higher self, or my divine team, however you want to call it, or all of them. And that's the caveat. I didn't take time to listen. I was just asking, 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 asking. So when you are in this journey and when you are wanting to find the way back because you know you have drifted off path and you know it because you feel it. You feel off, you feel unhappy, you feel unfulfilled, nothing is going right, you're off timing of things, you meet the people at the wrong timing, and you can tell that things are just, I call that phase the square wheel, because of course I was biking, right? And so the square wheel is a wheel, imagine a square trying to rotate, right? It goes one rotation and it gets stuck on that side of the square, and then with a lot of effort you do another rotation and it gets stuck on the other side of the square. So the square wheel is really harsh. And when you ask for answers and you write your questions on, or pray your questions, or you go walking and you ask your questions as you're walking, it's okay to do meditation and movement when you do this too. Remember to take time to listen for the answers. And also know that the answers often come when we can close this super bright tool, which is our minds, because our minds are an amazing tool when we are masters of our mind. Another thing Buddha used to say, be sure that you're master of your own mind and not the other way around. So when the mind is occupied with tasks such as, especially as taking a shower, cooking, driving, these are three typical moments where the mind is engaged in things that are second nature for the mind. And so it's occupied over here, and suddenly we can get messages and we get those aha moments. So pay attention and know that that information that comes to you throughout those moments is exactly the information you were asking for. Maybe you didn't ask for it yesterday or that moment, but know that you've been asking for it. And potentially you've been asking for it also subconsciously. Sometimes we're asking for things with our yearning, without realizing what we're actually asking. But our yearning is doing it, and the energy is a lot stronger than anything else. We modify this electromagnetic world with our energy, with our electromagnetic field. And so that's how we manifest. So sometimes it's just the yearning that is so powerful that brings forth those answers. You with me? So far, we're going somewhere here, trust me. So we've been clear on how it is that we veer off path, okay? Okay, but well, how do you know that you're course correcting, that you're actually really returning in alignment with the blueprint, that you're beginning to tap into that blueprint that you decided for yourself? Well, you begin to realize that you have more intuitive hits and that there's more synchronicities. For many of us, it's the triple numbers, right? Oh, I look at the clock and it's 11:11 or it's 12:12. And then, I see the license plates and it's 999, 333, 444. And that's one of the things I love most about the universe, this playfulness. Remember, the universe is playful and joyful. And when we're too serious, we kind of disconnect from even that ability to play with the universe. So as we are seeing all these signs, remember, it's like, oh, okay, okay, I'm connecting. And so pay attention. Remember what we said earlier in this show today. We said when you ask and not listen, or even before when we said sometimes the synchronicities are happening, but you're not paying attention. And so you don't even see them and they pass by you. So now you're seeing all these triple numbers, you're seeing certain synchronicities, you're thinking about somebody and they call you, or you call somebody and they say, oh my gosh, I was just about to call you, those things. Then that's increased synchronicity. That is, the intuitive hits are landing, right? And also you wake up and you have more emotional clarity. Your body feels better, you feel more aligned. Sometimes that's one of the most difficult parts, by the way. We'll do a show on that, on the embodiment piece. There is a sense of excitement. It's like you don't know how, you don't know what, you don't know when, but you know that something is coming and you're excited about it. And no, you can't place the finger on it, you don't know nothing, but you do know the excitement is real. It's almost as if you already know. The same kind of excitement you have when somebody you love says they're coming to visit, and a week before they're coming, you're already like, oh my gosh, they're coming to visit. It's that kind of excitement. And you don't know what or who's coming to visit, but you know that it's in alignment with what you desire. And at the same time that this is happening, old identities are falling away. And this is one of the things we struggle the most with. Why? Because as we move more in alignment with who we are, we can find that a lot of the people we used to surround ourselves with are not in alignment with our authentic selves. They're in alignment with that mask, with that persona that I build with to fulfill the beliefs and the constraints or the conditionings. And so the more I let go of those conditionings, the more I fine tune and refine and course correct, the more I go far away from there, and the more those people just don't resonate with me. Most importantly, I don't resonate with them. And there is a true sadness that goes with that. And it's okay to grieve that. But what I have found is that it's also key to know and understand that those years in which you probably weren't showing up for life with the authentic self of yours fully in vista, you were probably more covered by all those conditionings, are still years that form the thread of who you are. Those people that were in your life who may not be the ones for you for the next season of your life made you who you are today. They loved you when they loved you, and you loved them when you loved them. And this phrase, I don't even know who said it, but it's so true. There's people that come to your life for a reason, for a season, or forever. It's so true. And I have friends in my life that are, I'm so blessed. They've been in my life from when I was 6. And I have friends that came into my life in my 30s when I did my master's in business administration in California. Big, big life experience moving from Argentina to the US and going through that experience. There's people that I met in different times, mothers of my children, that while the children were going to school, it looked like we were great. And then children grew and we just drifted apart with love. I mean, I had friends that I still send a message here and there, but there's no connection today in where we are and where they are, and it's okay. So it's okay, and it's important for you to allow yourself this, and to also allow yourself that sadness that you may find as you move toward the alignment of your soul's calling. So there's this other thing that happens when we go through the alignment with our blueprint, which has to do with our somatic cues, what's happening in our nervous system and in our body. There's something that happens between our body and our minds. There's a recognition of our mission. I will speak more to that, but I do want to address something before. As we want to call in this divine blueprint, because there's aspects of us that didn't follow that, like I said, we were veering off path, following all these other conditionings, it is important we also let go of those parts consciously, that we make the choice, because there's also an energetic body. We're our energetic body. We're not just this that you see in flesh. We're also layers of energy that carry information. So the old quote unquote information that no longer serves us needs to be released. And that will make room for the new energy to align and harmonize and then synchronize with new layers of your blueprint. We are also, this show is happening towards the end of a very particular year. And even though what I'm saying now is applicable at whatever time you will listen to this, even if it's the middle of the year, the next year, or 2 years from now, this is always true. For those of you watching live and for those of you watching the replay in these next days, this is also an especially wonderful time to consciously want to release what no longer serves us, because we are moving through the collective ending of a year and solstice in a few days and beginning of a new year. So it's always a great time to align ourselves with a cycle that's grander than ourselves. I also want you to know that I have a tool that I downloaded from the divine. I channeled as I was channeling this show, as I was guided to do the Soul Wisdom Project. I was always also guided to do a handout, a guide to help you in the journey, not just for this show today, but throughout all of the journey of your soul's remembering. And if you want, if you're saying yes to remembering, you can download my free Soul Living Blueprint Guide on my website, but also you can download it in the links of this episode if you prefer. And it is very important because I put into this guide foundations for you to go deeper into this conversation and also to understand more layers that will take me several episodes to really address in a deeper way. So if you want, this is a tool, a handout, a guide that I wrote for you. I hope you find it useful. And by all means, feel free to write to me and to even email me and tell me how this tool is helping you, and share with me what's happening for you in terms of also all these topics we're talking about in this episode. So back to what I was saying in the blueprint. Like I was saying, there's other things that happen when we begin aligning with our blueprint. Our whole nervous system begins to calm down. And so you may notice that you are less reactive and that you have more space to receive with your heart somebody else who may not be where you're at in your own journey. And you have compassion, love, empathy, and understanding to receive this person where they are at. And they may be a little bit behind you on the path. And if I have learned one thing in this journey, is that who am I to judge wherever every person is in their journey? I have no idea what their souls decided to learn in this lifetime. And in that choice, the soul also decided the experiences and the body and the family and the lineage and all of that. And I don't know what they're here to do. So how can I judge them? There is no ahead or behind in reality, right? But what there is an opened, more expanded level of awareness, a higher level of consciousness in some of us. And by the way, I don't claim to be at the top of the tier. There's a lot of people that have, a higher consciousness, or a higher level of awareness, or more studies, or a lot more of more. And they are my guides too. But I do know too that I am a little bit ahead of others, and that's part of my own journey in service. My own blueprint is to be of service in this way through this show to reach many of you and to allow these concepts to reach as many people as possible, because they're not my truth. They're not Shakti here. I'm just really conveying an information that needs to be out there in the world at this time of ascension, at this time of ascension of the earth. And the ascension of the earth happens through our own journey of ascension. And our own journey of ascension is to understand where we are off course and how to course correct, and how to make that course correction in the best way possible. And that is through connecting with those God codes, with that blueprint, with that divine template. You're beginning to understand how this works, right? So your nervous system begins to calm down because there's more expansion, there's more alignment. With more alignment, there's more joy. With more joy, there's more ease. With more ease, there's natural more trust and more surrendering. And with more trust and more surrendering, there is more synchronicities and more joy. It's an upward spiral. And this leads me to the other part, this trust and surrender, where there's a whole authority that comes inside of you from your body, from your mind, and of course from your guidance, right? And so it is so important to understand that play that happens between our guidance, between our bodies, the embodiment of our souls in our bodies, and our mind. Now, the embodiment I will touch just briefly today so that you can understand a little bit better, has to do with all those experiences I was speaking about earlier in today's show. And if we happen to have devised really, really traumatic experiences as a child, our body may not feel like a safe place for our soul to live. Not only because our body is not a safe place, but because the world doesn't seem a safe place, and the body is in that world, right? We're talking the density of earth, of the three-dimensional world. And so when that happens, when our soul doesn't feel comfortable inside the body, it literally is not fully inside the body. And that's why we talk about this word embodiment, to be in the body. So we are not in the body when there is a lot of unresolved trauma. We literally walk around life with our soul flying above us like a little balloon, and our body goes, and there's a strong disconnection between our bodies and our soul, and also between our minds and our bodies. And this disconnection creates a deep, painful experience of living in 3D, because not being connected with the body makes it so that we struggle, because the body is our vehicle in this lifetime. So we will, like I said, address this in a deeper conversation, because I know that this touches so many of us. It certainly touched my own life in a very deep way, and it took me years and years to clear and clear and clear all the layers of the conditioning that I had, so that I could truly feel joy fully inside my body, to be here standing in front of you, talking to you on a screen, comfortable about what I'm doing without a struggle about being here, visible and vulnerable with you. So I wanted to know, in conclusion, in rounding these many concepts I gave you today, first is just a caveat. I know that I give out a lot of profound information. This is a thing that is part of my imprint. I convey a profound transmission with a lot of information. And if these concepts that I shared with you today are new to you, in neuro-linguistic programming, there are studies that say that any human that listens to new concepts for the first time can only grasp and absorb anywhere between 7% and 12% of all that information. Let's average it at 10%. So if the majority of these concepts are new for you today, and most likely they are, these are not necessarily widespread concepts, and you were listening live, or you were listening in the first replay, you are going to grasp a part of this. And the beauty is that because this is a recording, you can listen again and again. And every time you listen to this again and again, you will know that there is new information that comes to you. You will listen to what I'm saying in a different way. You will receive what I'm saying with more clarity. And you're like, oh, I didn't hear her say that before. And that's because it begins to be less of a new information and more of, oh, I can absorb more. So I want you to know that it is also important that if you feel that this conversation stirred something ancient and true in you, remember there's the Soul Living Blueprint Guide that you can download. I do invite you to journal about what's coming up for you, to record it somewhere. There's also something very special about the connection of the mind and our hand when I write, not typing, but writing. There's a freedom, there's a nervous system relaxation as we do that. And it also leads to connecting with our higher self or our divine guidance and makes it easier for us to tap into that information. So I do invite you to use that tool and to bring your questions for the next show. And let me remind you that the next show, the Soul Wisdom Project for the new year, is on January 6th. And the topic will be Crossing Thresholds, Real Strategy for a New Year of Alignment. And this will be a powerful conversation to help you enter the year 2026 with clarity, with intention, and with soul authority. We're going to continue this conversation so that you have what you need to start this new year, to be more aligned, to create in this new year that starts. Because dear listener, we're concluding a 9-year journey right now. This is a year that adds up to 9. We're closing cycles. This year was the year of the serpent. We shed skins and old beliefs. And we're going into a full new year with the frequency of the number 1. I'm going to talk more about this next time. And it's going to truly have the frequency of a new beginning. And in the Chinese horoscope, it's the horse. The horse will lead us forward, trotting and galloping, and everything is possible. So I want to thank you profoundly and deeply for having been here with me today. This was a wonderful first time of connection. I am thrilled and can't wait to have more time with you. Do send me your questions. Do connect with me. Do download the guide. Do check me out at www.theawakenpath.com, and I'll see you next time. So much love and light and blessings on these holidays. Thank you for joining me, Shakti Botatsi, on the Soul Wisdom Project, Remembering the Living Blueprint of the Soul. Tune in every first and third Tuesday each month at 9 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio. Continue your journey of conscious embodiment, integrating the design, development, and emergence of your divine blueprint. Deepen your exploration through my book, Remembering Her, A Soul Embodiment Journey, and discover mentoring and retreats at theawakenpath.com. Healing is possible. Your journey is sacred design in motion. To put overwhelm in your past, contact me at www.theawakenpath.com. Stay awake, stay aligned, and keep living your soul's wisdom. See you next time.